This conference will now be recorded.
All right, all right, getting used to all this, but welcome back to the virtual Braintrust. I have with me Traci Weamer from the AVP and USA Volleyball, and just overall amazing athlete. Tracy Callahan now, I apologize.
Oh, no
Um,
worries.
yeah, but the big thing is being involved in volleyball for the last 8, 9 years of my life, and both beach and helping out with indoor and AVP, and then AVP first starting with their stuff, FIVB. Just really cool to have you on today. Tony sent an email out. You, as always, you always step up and try to help out the community. So, real quick, just give a little bit of history of yourself. Where you're at right now. I know you've done Redondo, but kind of talk about how it is to be a pro right now in quarantine.
Yeah, so I'm actually right now I'm in Upland. I'm at my parents' house, so you can get a look. In Redondo, they currently have shut down like all of the beaches, which probably people have heard on the news. So it's kind of a bummer for like us residents that live in Redondo or Hermosa or Manhattan or any places where the beach is our backyard. And
Yeah.
we don't have like you can't even walk on the street next to the Esplanade in Redondo. Like they are being such sticklers about it. So it's kind of a bummer because we are apartment livers and there's really nowhere to walk around. So I've been coming out to Upland and seeing my parents and spending time with them. My dad has this amazing home gym. Like, I mean, I'm talking, this guy has collected gym equipment over the last like 20 years.
Nice.
So yeah, so we've been coming out here and it's a good excuse to see my family and everything like that too.
You're probably going to give us a workout today, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. One thing that I really love looking at, just your history is I didn't realize how big you were into yoga.
Oh my gosh. I can't even tell you the amount of things I've done over the last decade that have
Mhm.
not had anything to do with volleyball.
Yeah.
But yeah, yoga's just been one of those things. I think I had friends that were into it. And then, just in my life, whenever things were difficult, I
Mhm.
always found myself going to yoga classes and just being able to feel better,
Yeah.
and it was like whatever I was going through in my mind or trying to work through or whatever problem I was having at home or whatnot, like I just felt better after these yoga classes. So I coached at FSU in 2015, 2016. Go Knowles, right?
No.
National champ runner-ups, lost to SC, but we did beat them in their home place. So, anyways, great experience out there with like Brooke Niles and Hector Gutierrez was over there then. He's not at TCU, but yeah, so after that, I came back to California and had no idea what I was going to be doing. And I had some friends that they were running like teacher training programs. So joined that and it was really cool because it expanded my understanding of like the human anatomy and physiology, kind of the stuff I forgot since high school, which ultimately has made me a better athlete because not only just, I think the more you know about yourself, the better it is anyways, whether that is like personal stuff or just the more you know about the way the human body works. So biomechanics, all that. So, I mean, I'm not an expert by any means, but it's been nice because, yeah, things have been quarantined, but I've found myself like going back to some of my old yoga routines and stretching out. And really, you don't need much space to get a great
Yeah.
workout, to be honest.
No, and I think that's one of the biggest things, especially in volleyball, like that we take for granted. You know what I mean? We can
Yeah,
have this beautiful beach, usually blue skies. Like we can go jump in the ocean if we want to. Get back, relax, eat some food, and go back out on the beach.
yeah.
And now you've got this quarantine life, and a lot of the young kids, especially that Tony and I are talking to from the AVP First program, they're stir crazy right now, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't have these systems built into place, and realize that what this is my philosophy on volleyball. There's not one way to be able to hit that ball. There's not one way to be able to dig. There's not one way to do anything. There's an infinite number of ways to do all this, but it's based on what your body can physically do.
Exactly.
And so a lot of these kids, they're being coached in a style, but they may not physically be able to do it. So this is a time for young athletes or even athletes that are taking time off to work on their body.
Oh,
And
yeah.
why when I saw your yoga thing, I was like, we're totally going to knock on that for a minute because it's so
Yeah.
important.
Well, even so, my trainer, who he's definitely like a mentor in my life, but we train in his garage and we use probably it's like a 6 by 6 foot square, whatever, platform. We use a small platform. Okay. I haven't done math for a while. Anyways, And we do everything on that platform. I mean, to be honest with you, we do everything on that platform. Yeah, we do some stuff here and there, like off the platform, but it really has taught me that, like, in beach volleyball, this is one of the things that he says. He's like, you play in a box. Like, you're not running these big distances, you play in a box. So it's, and a lot of the movements are 1 or 2 steps here, 1 or 2 steps there. You may have to run down a high line shot, but it's really a really small area that we play in. So we don't need that much space. So even the things I'm doing with him, he's been giving me programs. It's all body weight stuff. It's a lot of a lot of lunges, a lot of lunge jumps, squats, squatting through the toes, and then little hops. And the most important thing I've found in switching over and starting to train with him is not just doing the exercise. He always tells me, like, oh, you drill, you just like to drill. He's like,
Yeah.
pay attention to what you're doing, be in the moment with it, like find the juice in the exercise and in the movement. For example, if I'm doing like a squat pattern thing, actually feeling the stretch in my glutes and my hamstrings, and like getting, like, feeling that that's the muscle that's like taking that, and then being able to accelerate through the hips, or so it's definitely slowed me down. I used to be one of those athletes that thought the more that you squat, like, the better volleyball player it's going to make you, but really it's not true. It's completely false. So, some people probably need to do more of that for strengthening, but again, it's like knowing what your strengths are and what you need to work on in your game. And mine's definitely not strength. I'm pretty good on that.
No, and I like that you brought that up, because that's such an important concept for a lot of athletes, is because they think, oh, well, so-and-so is doing this, or they've got an influencer on Instagram they're following. And it's like, look, you need a team around you. You need to make sure you have
Oh,
you've got your coach, you've got your
100%.
medical person, all talking the same language, because one thing could actually be affecting the other, and therefore, you could ruin an entire season
Yeah.
because of management, right?
Yeah. And actually, I want to add to that, because I was thinking about that before we talked too, and I forgot, but you mentioned it, so I'm glad that you did. When it comes to your team, and I've been kind of saying this, and this is actually, I got out of all playing.
Yeah.
In 2014 was really the last season that I played, and I dabbled a little bit, but didn't actually play a full season. 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018. So last season, 2019, 0 points. Let's make a run for it, right? And got back into it. But the difference in me coming back was, I said to myself, look, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. And I need to get a team around me, because it's hard to do this without a team around you. And
Totally.
that's at the professional level, but I think at the high school and like amateur level, that's more important even, because when you're like this right now, this is going to come, this is going to go, and we're going to talk about this time, you know, one day. And I think what, like, I feel very fortunate right now, because I've got a wonderful team that I've worked to surround myself with, so that when things do get tough, I'm not just like relying on myself, and whether that team is like a family member, parents, friends who can be like, hey, did you do your home workout today? Did you do your home workout today? And just people that can keep you accountable and motivate you. And you can motivate them when things get tough, and I think that's kind of the most important thing if you do want to have any sort of success, is you have to surround yourself with like people who have the same goals and the same drive. And you can't think that, oh, I'm just going to go out and be a pioneer and do this all by myself, because nobody's doing that. Everybody who's done that will, for example, I had a burnout, and I tried to put things in the beginning, when I first started playing the sport professionally. And then once I kind of changed my mindset on that, because I've had some really low moments this last season, and it's only because of my team that they kept me going. So that's just really important.
Would you care to touch on one of those moments? I think that's really important right now for people to see, because it's not always glamour, and it's not, especially the professional, and can you talk about one of those moments, and then kind of some of the things that you did to come out of it, or how you stayed strong through it?
Yeah. A lot of it was how I was going to be perceived by others. And that was something that I really used to care strongly about. And I still do. Who doesn't? I guess some people don't, but they're better than me. I definitely care about what other people think. But I'm trying to limit like who is that person that I really care so much about their opinions. Anyways, so yeah, so when I was coming back out, or the idea of playing professionally again was the hardest, for the first hurdle that I had to step through, because I felt like nobody was going to take me seriously. Like, oh, this girl, she's been back and forth, and like nobody, and they didn't. And the reason, and that's fine, and I wouldn't have taken me seriously either, but I think that really had to focus me and just kind of be like, look, you need to be very professional about this, because if you're not, nobody's going to take you seriously. So I did. I just said, okay, this is what it looks like to be professional. You have your coach, you've got your trainer, you got, I mean, my whole body completely transformed. I probably lost about 20 pounds. I probably lost about 10% body fat. I mean, I was regimented, and because I knew what I wanted. And then, so then, yeah, I mean, I couldn't get a partner. Nobody wanted to play with me. Nobody. And that's when I was playing blocker. And then I actually went down to Brazil for a month to try to grab a partner, and that ended up working out. I got to play with Maria Salgado, and that was just a wonderful, yeah. So it was great. I mean, it was like I went down there, and that was hard for a month, training down there, because I didn't know her. I met her on the beach down there, and didn't really have any social network down there. Nobody spoke English to me. So it was tough, but it was good. And then I came back and qualified and finished 7th, my first AVP. So I'm like, oh, I'm back. This is all I do. I qualify, finished 7th. Next tournament, I'll probably be in the semi, like this is, and then the next 3 tournaments, I didn't even qualify, and in New York, I just knew there's no way I could keep playing with Maria. And I had no idea what I wanted to, like, I didn't know, like, I couldn't see what's next. How is, like, I'm not qualifying. Should I even be doing this? It's a huge expense. And there's just a lot of factors that go into it when you're trying to play at like another level. And so it just, like, not everything was linear. And at the same time, I knew I wanted to play defense. I knew I was an okay blocker. I don't have long arm, and I'm an okay jumper. So I'm like, I just need to play defense. So how do I convince somebody that this average size blocker who retired and is back is going to be a defender, And then, but that ended up working out, found a coach. Like, so it's like all these little steps. I just stayed focused, though, in a strange way. I felt like I had to prove to myself and to the sport and to, like, God, and just like, look, no matter what you throw at me, this is my goal. So it doesn't matter what you throw at me. I'm going to keep going in this direction, So I think I had just a lot of resolve too. And again, great support. A lot of tears were shed, but, and then this year, trying to figure out partner stuff. And I ended up being able to partner up with Chrissy Jones, who I'm going to be playing with this season, whatever the season looks like. Yeah, whatever the season looks like, but we're partnered up together. And she's a great human and a great volleyball player. So, I mean, I'm just continuously chipping away, but I've definitely had more heartache this last year getting back in the sport than I've had joy. But I also, the heartache is, I think, where I kind of like the heartache in a weird way, because it's what makes it feel alive. And then it makes those finishes, those triumphs, the times that you do succeed, or you push beyond something that you've been before. That's what it makes it worth it. I think that's why people stay stuck in the sport in a way, because of that. It's something that you can't find anywhere else. So yeah, so I mean, if you're going for something, you're gonna experience a lot of heartache. So you just almost have to plan for it again, which is why I say you gotta have good support around you when you go through hard times.
No, and I think that's the key concept that a lot of our young athletes have got to learn. You know what I mean? And it is a team event. It's a team sport. It's a family.
Yeah.
We had Chris on earlier, and we talked a little bit. And the one thing I love about our volleyball community is it truly is a family.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? And we've got this opportunity where we practice together, we play each other, and then it's not like other sports where we're constantly apart. And then when we meet, when we're competing, especially in the beach volleyball world. What's something like, because there's a lot of young kids right now that are looking at, like, they've lost their senior season. You know what I mean? They've lost a lot of what their dream might have been this year. And you gave a little bit about going out, coming back in, that the world's not over. And that, the rules that just came out with NCAA about eligibility, they're giving you an extra year within beach and indoor, which I think is amazing. What are some of the things that, you would say to those kids right now? Like, obviously, being able to take all this in from earlier in the conversation, but what's one thing that, like, what's some advice that you got from one of your mentors that kind of kept during that heartache time to keep growing?
Well, any time in my life that I've been forced to pause, whether it's because of an injury or just my heart wasn't in it, or just for whatever reason, now it's like the virus. It always causes me to like reflect and almost as a way like, okay, life is trying to teach you something right now. So whenever I go through anything that's slowing me down or difficult, I'm like, okay, what is there to learn in this right here? And Mikhail, my coach, my trainer coach, he always says, like, you win or you learn. You're winning or you're learning. And I think it's all about perspective and how you choose to see a situation. Um, you know, what if you're a senior in college right now and your season totally got taken from you? You can like find the silver lining in it, I think, which is a choice to do, and it's hard for sure because you were totally picturing the season going a certain way. But I actually learned this from Brittany Hochvar, and I love this, but she would always say, like, you have to learn to pivot. Life takes you one way, and then are you able to adapt and pivot? And that's really where I think as athletes, we have to be really flexible with pivoting,
Yeah.
and also just to kind of like when you're young, and I remember this, like, I still think I'm kind of young, but like when I was like in high school and in college, it was like this year in this moment, this was the biggest thing in my life. And I
Yeah.
think when you've had a couple more years like in your belt, that you can kind of look back and see, okay, this is just a phase and this is going to end. And so when and I almost like to look at things, okay, this has ended. What, as pretending that I'm already in the future, looking back on this, how do I want to be when all of this is over? Like, is this an opportunity where I can take this downtime to actually get in better shape, to work on more flexibility, to maybe do more visualization, meditation? Maybe I need to spend more time with my family. So kind of seeing things from the end of it and retrospect looking back. And obviously I can't speak to everybody's like situation in particular, but I think just finding that perspective that is motivating you to continue to move forward is the best thing that you can do in a time like this.
No, for sure. And that's some of the best advice that I think anyone's given so far from our Braintrust. And, one thing that I think is so amazing about, again, our volleyball community is the fact of being able to communicate and connect. And, that's usually done physically. And right now, the virtual world, there's some really good, videos coming out from everybody on Instagram and, Facebook and everything else. Who are you following right now? Who are you like watching? Who are you like doing like challenges with, that you're keeping that, virtual community going with?
I haven't been doing any of the challenges, to be honest with you. I think that it's funny because before all of this happened, I really, really longed to come to my parents' house. They live probably 50 miles from where I live in the beach, but with California traffic, it's like
So,
there's no way. Plus, I was training every day. Plus, I'm drive up to the valley to see my trainer. No time. And I've been wanting to come to my parents' house. So I've honestly just like I've been spending more time with my mom and my dad, and my niece, while like quarantined here, and we're all just kind of seeing each other. I really have spent less time probably on social media now than before, because in a way everybody's kind of stopping and stopped. And so for me, it felt like a good time to like pause. And I mean, I'm still putting content out there and things like that, but like I don't know if you saw, but 2 years ago, after my experience with FSU, I ended up writing a recruiting book on beach volleyball, because there's a lot of kind of unknown. Yeah. And there's a lot of young players that aren't really sure, but there's so much opportunity for them to play, and not just like at schools in California, but schools everywhere at all different levels. Um, So I put together like a book, and then I just spent like, I think this weekend I revised it and put out all the new rules from the NCAA because they switched things up with dates and whatnot. So that's been a nice time where I've been able to kind of like do a little bit more work on my computer, or just like different things besides just the grind of playing and training and eating and all that stuff. So
What any books are you reading right now?
yeah, I actually, one of my favorite authors is his name is Henry Nouwen, Nouwen, and he has this book. He's a Catholic priest, and he has this book called The Return of the Prodigal Son, and that's kind of what he's most known for. But this book that I'm reading right now is called Discernment, and it's a spiritual book, it's a Christian book, and I'm Christian, and that's like a big part of my life. I've definitely been spending a lot more time like in prayer and just like meditation and reflecting and just appreciation too. Like being thankful for everything I do have, being thankful that I can come to this backyard here, that my dad has a home gym, that I have a great team. Like, not that I have everything, but I do have a lot of stuff to be thankful for during this time. Um, so yeah, that's kind of, I've been reading that a lot lately, and just not just reading through it, but like really reflecting on some of the things that he's saying. He talks a lot about, and this is huge for me growing up, but just a lot about like your identity and who you are. And even in my 30s, that's still something I have to go back to and be reminded of, like, okay, this is like you are a child of God, and that's pretty much what I keep coming back to. So yeah, so that's been a nice book that I've been reading.
Awesome. And then, I mean, the other thing too is, are you watching anything right now? Obviously with family, which I think is super cool. A lot of people don't have. I can go both ways. I mean, for me, I'd probably be running outside right now. But are you guys watching shows? Is there anything that you're doing to kind of like do some downtime or passing?
Oh, heck yeah. Okay, Tiger King. Is not everybody watching that right now?
I have yet to watch this Tiger King.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
Okay.
It's amazing. And then my husband, he spent time in Oklahoma, in Tulsa. He lived there for a little bit. So he kind of knows. He's given me a little bit inside stuff with like just Oklahoma in general. It is just fascinating. Like, I told him like, wait, who's the bad guy here? And he's like, they're all crooks. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
But you gotta watch it.
I will.
It's amazing. And then the other one is, we watch Ozark I think it's on Netflix.
Love that show, yeah.
Season 3's out right now, so I've got 2 more episodes of that one. But they're both like kind of weird and dark, but yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know that you've been on social media, and I really appreciate you taking the time to get on today. I just you always give back. Being a fellow athlete at Florida State, super grateful to have you on, and just totally stoked on this next season. By the way, I'm gonna say it that our NCAA basketball champs are Florida State, because we were the one. But if you ever need anything, reach out to me. If people want to reach out to you, what are your handles that they can reach out to you on?
Yeah, so right now I'm mostly I am on Twitter, but I don't do anything on there. So I would say Instagram, at Callahan Volleyball, CALLAHAN Volleyball, is my Instagram. And then, yeah, you can pretty much reach out to me on there. And if you are a young athlete and you're wondering about how the whole recruiting process, you can send me a message on there. I'll definitely reach out. I've called girls before, that like a friend has been like, oh, call this girl, she's confused. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll call her. And there's really like a lot of times I think it just feels so daunting, like, oh my gosh, where do I start, what do I do? And it's really not that difficult of a process. It's pretty simple. You just kind of have to know what you can and can't do and where to start. So if anybody has questions about that, they can always reach out to me as well.
Cool. Thanks for making that resource. Thanks again for your time, and looking forward to seeing you back on the beach.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Let me pause this.